Well, Reds, Wednesday night, yesterday night, today is Thursday. It was a blue sky and it hit 22 degrees in London. But I suspect at Anfield it probably hit 2,000 degrees. 4 goals, 16 shots on target, the most in nearly 20 years in European competition. A performance so good, much to my surprise, that even fans of rival clubs, and you know who you are, were sitting there saying, "Fair play, Liverpool. Fair play, Liverpool, you were incredible." And then, before the confetti had even settled, Handbrake Arna walked out to a microphone and told all of us, that replicating this performance against Brighton at the weekend is not realistic. Right, let's get into this. He's doing it again. He's putting the handbrake on again. He's putting in padding to cover himself. Let's do it again. I want to know why it's taken so long. The 11 that started yesterday should have been playing since August. Shock horror, a right back playing in right back. We had a left back playing in left back. We had our best midfielder playing in midfield. And they were obviously allowed to go full on. I want to start with the thing that I cannot genuinely get out of my limited mind and head. Because it's not just about yesterday, Wednesday. It's about everything that came before it. That starting lineup against Galatasaray, Szoboszlai in the midfield, where he belongs. Frimpong at right back. Gakpo dropped. Salah tucked in closer to goal. That was not some inspired tactical revelation. That was the obvious team that the whole world knows. That was the obvious team that most supporters in the stadium and outside of the stadium could have written on the back of a fag packet in pre-season. Here is a stat that should be printed on a banner outside Anfield. That was the first time that exact 11 have played together ever. Not once before last night as that squad played together. And look at the performance, look at the results. We won 4-0. We should have won 6-0. We could have won 10-0. Had that combination taken onto the field, that starting lineup against Galatasaray, Szoboszlai midfield, Frimpong right back, Gakpo, Slot's favourite son, dropped. Salah tucked in closer to goal. That was not some inspired tactical revelation. That was the obvious team. The team that most supporters could have written on the back of a fag packet. On the back of a fag packet in pre-season. And here is a stat that should be printed on a banner outside of Anfield Stadium. That was the first time that exact 11 players have played together all season. Not once before. Not once before yesterday. Not once had that combination taken to the field. You saw it immediately. You felt it. The cohesion, the understanding. Szoboszlai linking with Salah in tight pockets. Ekitike finally having someone to link with because the shape made sense. And the numbers were ridiculous. 16 shots on target in a single European knockout game. Four times the season average in all competitions, all in one night. So my question, and I'm asking it today to you and everyone else, I'm asking it fairly, and this isn't an attack, is this: what exactly have you been watching since August 2025? Now, to give Slot his due, he deserves huge praise for making the call on Wednesday. The essential calls. Dropping Gakpo took guts. Playing Szoboszlai in his actual position, midfielder, after weeks of using him as a makeshift right back. That took some self-awareness. I'll give him that. But credit for getting it right on the 40th attempt is not the same thing as an endorsement of everything that came before it. And that's the honest truth. The players haven't changed. The stadium didn't change. The opposition last night were not world beaters. Galatasaray have won 2, drawn 1, and lost 11. 11 of their last European away games. But guess what changed? The setup. The positions changed. And the result was one of the most dominant performances this club has produced in years. That tells you everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. We won 4-0, but we still got robbed. I thought the referee was actually okay, but let's talk about a thing that technically didn't matter on the night, but absolutely does. Alexis McAllister's disallowed goal. Go on YouTube, watch it back, and if you haven't already, Virgil van Dijk goes up for the ball. The keeper drops it. The keeper, McAllister, puts it in the net, and somehow the referee gives a foul. That's a bad decision in real time, but referees are human. These things happen. But then VAR looks at it. VAR looks at it and reviews it. VAR is the entire point of which is to be the correction mechanism. The correction mechanism, the backup, the safety net, the lifeboat, the life jacket. He looks at it and backs the referee. I'll tell you what, that is indefensible. I saw a Manchester United fan, someone with zero reason to be generous to Liverpool, watch it back and say he couldn't find a reason to rule that goal out. That's how obvious it was. So, remember Luis Diaz, Liverpool against Tottenham? This is what makes this so much worse than a bad call. This is not a one-off. This is a pattern. Liverpool fans can sit here and list decisions across this season and last season and season before that have cost us points, cost us titles, and cost us European nights. And every single time the response from the football authorities is the same. Silence. Silence. No accountability, no review, no answers, no consequences, no apologies. The referee got it wrong. VAR is supposed to be the firewall. The firewall failed. Both layers of the system reached the same wrong, incorrect conclusion. Imagine that in an international match, if England were playing. So I'll ask the question, what exactly is the point of VAR? Because if it can watch for a clear non-foul and ratify it as a foul, it's not a correction tool. It's a rubber stamp for incompetence. And yes, we were winning 4-0. It became 4-0 instead of 5-0. Some people will say, move on. Don't worry about it. It didn't cost us. But don't let anyone tell you it doesn't matter. It matters every time. As I said, because if England were doing that, what would you be saying? Precedent matters. Confidence matters. And because the message it sends that you can get this wrong at this level repeatedly without any consequences whatsoever, that matters most of all. This could be Arsenal. This could be Man United. This could be Chelsea. When is someone going to change? I don't have the answer, but someone has to keep asking the question. Slots, Brighton warning. Not realistic. Let's be fair and let's be honest. Right. On a slot on Brighton this weekend. This morning, before we get into the criticism, and there is some, let me be clear about what I think he got right on yesterday night, because I'm not going to be one-sided about this. He picked the right team for the first time in his life. He was aggressive. He took the handbrake off. Well done, Arna. In a way we have rarely seen from him this season. He set up without fear and without caution. The approach was front foot, high press, attacking from the first whistle. That deserves to be said. And he deserves credit. I hate using that word, credit. But then he steps in front of the cameras and tells us, warns us in fact, that replicating that level at Brighton this weekend is not realistic. He complains about the schedule. He complains about the turnaround. He points out that Brighton have had 5 or 6 days to prepare, while we've had barely 60 hours. Arne, stop complaining, son. And here's what I will be fair to him. He does have a legitimate point about the schedule. 62 hours between a high-intensity Champions League game, knockout tie, and a Premier League away game. It's tough. The Premier League fixture calendar generally punishes clubs in European competitions, Europa League, Champions League. And if Slot wants to go on record making that the case, making his case, I'm with him. That's a real problem. But, and this is the part I cannot let slide, there is a way of saying that which doesn't involve lowering the bar publicly before the game is even played. There is a version where you handle it internally, where you tell your players in the dressing room, at AXA training ground, Melwood, that the opponents have had more rest. Use it as fuel, where you protect your team's confidence rather than eroding it by speaking in public. What you don't do is go on television the day after one of your best performances in years, and signal to Brighton's dressing room and manager and ownership that a reduced version of Liverpool is walking through the door today, this weekend. Whether it was intentional or not, that's going to be the effect. I think Slot talks too much, too honestly, too openly, and in doing so gives opposing teams ammunition. I think the bigger question, and the one that connects all three of these sections, or these parts I've spoken about, is if the right team is in the right position and the right mentality, they produce that kind of performance like yesterday. Why is the default anything other than that? Why is yesterday, Wednesday, the exception and not the rule? We need to see that starting 11 every single week. We need to see that intensity every single week. Not because Brighton are Galatasaray. They're not. They're a far more organised Premier League side. But because this squad is capable of it. Wednesday, yesterday, last night, proved that beyond doubt. I'm going to close by saying this. We are 5th in the table. 2 points behind Aston Villa. 8 games left. The top 5 is not guaranteed. It's not secured. Paris Saint-Germain await in the Champions League in April in a quarter-final. This season is still alive. Just about. And the only thing standing between this squad and a genuinely strong finish to the year is whether the manager backs what he saw last night on Wednesday or retreats to being handbrake Slot. Cautious, system-first approach that has cost us points in my opinion. The players showed us yesterday what they're capable of. Now let's see if Arne Slot, handbrake Slot, shows us the same. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Am I right? Am I wrong? What would you do? Are you optimistic for Brighton this weekend? Or are you braced for the same old? Once again, you will never walk alone. Thank you so much for watching. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment. It supports the channel. I do believe the booing against Tottenham sent a signal out to both players and managers. We need to keep speaking out. We need to keep speaking out. We need to keep speaking out. Success will not be given to us on a plate. We have to fight for it. And I'll tell you something else, success leaves clues. Let's fight for every single game between now and the end of the season. Thank you for watching.